Good morning.
Good morning.
Are you ready to take your next spiritual step?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, you guys totally beat out the first service. Where they're just like,
More awake.
we had a couple more hours to get prepared. So every moment is an opportunity to be working on our next spiritual step. So I want you to be thinking about what yours is as we're going through our talk today, because I have something very special for you. I have subtitled this talk today, which is called How to Take a Spiritual Step, as Lynn's favorite class in 25 minutes or less. So here we go. In your bulletins, you have a cute little thing that I designed a few years ago. I was getting ready to teach a class here, and I'm a visual person, so I was wanting to create something that I could give to people to talk about what we're going to be talking about in class. And so my son had this, it's called a bamboo something or other, bamboo pad. So it's basically a thing that you plug into your computer through a USB port, and it's got a stylus. And we had purchased it for Jason so he could draw and do his comic book things that he was into at the time, and put them on the computer and make cartoons and all sorts of fun stuff. So I grabbed that up one day and I'm like, okay, let's just play around with this. And so this is what came out. And when I teach anything, I like to make it really earthy and really simple and really accessible, because that's how I was taught to do it by my spiritual mentor, Jane Elizabeth Hart. I shared with you last week and for the last 10 years about her book, Spiritual Power Tools for Support for Your Soul. And on the back cover of that book, she says, this book is, essentially, not verbatim, but this book is here to demystify the spiritual path, because we need to make it more accessible to all of us, not just to the people who go off and meditate for 50 years at a time. You know, we are in a spiritual process every day, all the time, and the more we know about it, the easier we can, the simpler it is to cooperate with it. Not always easy, but simple. So every time we're making a change in our life, whether you would call it a spiritual step, or a behavior change, or adding something new in your life, whatever you want to call it, there's a formula that you will walk through every single time. And this is the formula in my words, the way I came up with how to define it. It's not my formula, it just is what it is, but this is how I'm describing it for us. So I call it process for taking a spiritual step, because why get fancy? So you've got your step that you're taking. You've committed to it, whether it was a New Year's resolution, your white stone word, or anything else that you're working on in your life. That's your commitment. And it's only February 10th, so we're still in the new year. We're still in that new energy of like, okay, this is it. This is the year that I'm going to do fill in the blank. And whenever we make a new commitment, the universe backs us up, and we get excited about our commitment, and we get divine ideas about how to do this. So I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week, and here's how I'm going to rearrange my schedule so I do it. And then 3 weeks later, we're back where we started, right? Because it becomes really easy when it's 50 below zero outside and snowy and yucky. It's easy to stay in bed. It's easy to go back to our old ways. But it's not just, we can't just blame the weather, because we are wired as human beings, as physiological bodies, to maintain status quo, to continue with how things have been. Because there's our nervous system and our muscles and everything that's connected inside our physical bodies are wired together through electricity. There's electricity going throughout all of our cells and all of our nerve cells and muscle cells, and they get into a routine. Now, we used to call that a rut, right? They used to say, oh, our brains get ruts and da-da-da-da. Well, there aren't actual ruts that get formed in the brain. It's just like electrical connection. So it's like a house that got wired a certain way, but it's not permanent, right? We can go into that house and we can pull out some wiring and replace it with new wiring, and we can do that for us, for ourselves. We don't go in and pull out our wiring. We do it with our conscious intention. So when we have that new commitment to our new behavior that we want to do, the next step is resistance. Everything unlike our new behavior comes up because that's the status quo that we're working against to create a new status quo, to go from the old behavior to the new behavior. And this is where the work really is. And this second step is that resistance, because then we're coming up against ourselves, we're coming up against our old ways of doing things, and this will always happen when we're making a change. That's why we can't just make a change, because we have to rewire ourselves. And the more conscious we are about being able to embrace that process and say, oh, okay, there's my resistance to eating cookies instead of going to the gym, like I used to, then I can notice that and circle back and regroup myself and go, nope, this is what we're doing now. And it sounds really simple, and it is really simple, but it's not always easy, because sometimes that pull to the old behavior is stronger with some things than it is with others. But we have to be mindful of that. We have to be aware of that. And we've been working up to this day for the last month. We started with our white stone ceremony. We then talked about mindful self-compassion, which is a huge part of this process, because if we don't have compassion for ourselves and we have to drag ourselves back from the old behavior to the new behavior 50 million times before that new behavior becomes our status quo again, then we're going to be beating ourselves up and not wanting to move, because who wants to move when somebody's beating us up? We may want to run and hide, but we don't want to do anything constructive or positive for ourselves. We want to get away from that. So beating ourselves up when we fall down from what we're trying to do and make the changes that we're making doesn't do anything for us. But mindfully, lovingly, gently, kindly, and firmly moving ourselves back, refocusing ourselves on the change we want to make, that's what's going to make a difference. I like to use the analogy of a kid in a grocery store in the grocery cart. We're going up and down the aisles, and we get to that cookie aisle, and the kids start saying, I don't want cookies, I don't want cookies. And the parent, knowing a fit is close at hand, depending on how we handle it, the wise and kind and loving and firm parent says, I know. Don't those look great? Ah, I totally get it. Those are my favorite too. But you know what? It's not on the shopping list. Darn. Maybe next time. And then we keep pushing the cart forward. Quickly. We have to do that for ourselves too. Oh, yeah, I'm working on this bedtime, but there's my favorite movie that just came on. Oh, I haven't seen it for so long. It's only 2 hours. I know you like that movie, Lynn, but you have a long day at work, and people don't like it when you fall asleep when they're going to their therapist. They really don't like that, so maybe next time, maybe it's on Netflix, you can watch it later. Come on, let's do our nighttime routine and move into that sleep time. When we know the resistance is coming up next, we can embrace it and we can go, ah, there you are, just in time, just in time. Now, I've probably quoted the Bible in the last month than I have for the last, I'm not telling you how old I am. And I don't always quote the Bible, but when I do, I get excited like a crazy person about it because it's such awesome stuff. So there's somebody who I've been talking with for a while, and they will bring up Paul saying, that which I want to do, I don't do, and that which I don't want to do, I do. And he's talking about his struggle as a human being, trying to live up to Jesus' teachings, just like the people that Paul was writing to at the time. And so I went and I found that passage, because I always want to see, like, what's the context of that for him. And I am going to read this to you. Don't worry, I've unitized it a little bit. For those of you who don't know what that means, like, you're in a unity church. People don't usually come to a unity church to hear some of the old traditional language that a lot of traditional religions talk about. So I've reworded those. You might be able to notice. But the context and the story is wonderful. We know that the law is spiritual, but I am unspiritual, sold as a slave to my mistakes. I do not understand what I do, for what I want to do, I do not do, but what I hate, I do. Can anybody relate with that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Lynn, you did that again. Are you serious? And if I do what I do not want to do, I agree that the truth is good. As it is no longer I myself who do it, but it is the old thought patterns, that was me, the old thought patterns living in me. It's my old behavior who's doing it. For I know that good itself does not dwell in my human nature, my human consciousness. For I have the desire to do what is good, but I cannot carry it out as a human being. For I do not do the good. I want to do it, but the mistakes I do not want to do. This is what I keep doing. Now, and he goes on, right? There's more, hang in there. I just love this because it's such this like conundrum of us wrestling with our human nature, our patterns, our thought forms, our habits, when we want to be expressing, we want to be aligning more with that spiritual nature, that goodness, that flow that is available to us. So just let me finish, because this poor guy, he deserves to be listened to. Now, if I do what I do not want to do, it is no longer I who do it, but it's the old consciousness living in me that does it. So I find this law at work. Although I want to do good, my old habits are right there with me. For in my inner being, I delight in God's law. I want to do this. I want to change. But I see another law at work in me, waging war against the law of my mind and making me a prisoner of the law of habit at work in me. What a wretched man I am. Who will rescue me from this body that is subject to death? Thanks be to God who delivers me through the Christ mind within me. That Christ mind is our observer self that catches these things, that helps us make the unconscious resistance conscious so that we can do something about it. We make that unconscious resistance conscious by going, oh, look at that. My old self, my old pattern is trying to drag me back into it. Okay, it's really got a strong pull sometimes, but right now I'm seeing it, and I'm going to say, I get it. That's the old self, that's the old me, but I don't have to do that. I can scoop myself up and put myself in that shopping cart and move down the aisle for what is really on my spiritual shopping list today. What's on my spiritual shopping list today? This is where I'm going, who I am, and what I'm reinforcing. You know that old saying, there's I don't know even what color dogs they are, red dog and a brown dog. Which dog is going to thrive? You know this one, come on. The one you feed. Oh, this has been around forever, guys, come on, where have you been? What we feed within us is what's going to grow. So if we feed the old behavior will stick around. If we feed the new behavior will stick around, and the old behavior, we're starving it of that electricity and feeding that electricity to the new behavior. So this one just kind of shrivels up and goes away, and it's reassigned into that new behavior, that new thing that we want to be doing and aligning ourselves with. Good old Paul. I love that guy. Most of the time. So then what happens is that strengthening of the new behavior, that's the third green step, strengthening on your little form there. Strengthening of the new behavior, the starving out and reduction of energy around the old behavior, and we just keep practicing, we just keep moving. So in that last step, that resistance step, that's where our work is. That's when we pull out our journals and say, okay, I am really attached to this old behavior. Let me write about it and see what's making me so attached to it. What am I getting out of that old behavior that I'm not standing up to myself and corralling myself back to my new behavior? What is it? What do I need to know about myself? What's the attachment? I had somebody years ago say, you know, when I do that, I feel like I'm betraying something. I feel like, it feels like betrayal. And I'm like, that's brilliant. That's exactly what it is. We are totally betraying that old connection that is no longer serving us. We are betraying it. So if you feel that as you're going to your new behavior, like we're missing out, or we're losing something, or we're doing something not right, it's only that status quo going, something's wrong here, alert, alert, alert. And we can go, okay, yeah, no, I get it. That was the old alert, but now we got to rewire this into the new alert because we want to stay on here. So it's betraying an old thought form, just like you would say no to a toxic person in your life. We don't feel overly guilty, I hope, if we're kind of steering ourselves away from toxic people in our lives. We may feel a little bit guilty, but we also have that knowing of, I just can't anymore. I just can't. I can't do that. This person drags me down. I can't do what I need to do for myself and hold them up too. So take that life experience and apply it to this little tiny connection. When we're taking a step, we're just taking one step. We're not going from ground zero human to expanded consciousness of the universe. We're taking these little micro steps from here to there. And every time we take a step, we are reinforcing the new. We are reinforcing, but it's just one little step that's in front of us. Not 50,000 steps that we're working on at once. One little step, one little step. And we can remind ourselves when that resistance comes up too. It's like, I know this feels so hard, Lynn. I know it feels so hard, but all we have to do is right here, right now. Just this one little step. Just one night of not watching that movie. One night of not turning on the TV. I don't do that too badly, but just let's say it's a thing. So just that one moment right here, present, that I have to stand up to myself, that I have to regroup myself. And then that moment's done, I've reinforced my positive behavior that I want to be doing, my positive frame of mind, my positive whatever it is I'm working on. And then there's the next moment. And then it's a new opportunity to choose my new behavior. And slowly over time, it goes into that strengthening part of this formula where the old behavior just becomes not so enticing anymore. And the new behavior becomes a part of who we are. And somebody between services says, yeah, and then we get the new behavior, and then we kind of get used to that, and then we have a new behavior that we have to move into. I'm like, exactly. It's always a process. We're always expanding. We take a step. It's like, we take a step and then there's a next step to take. It's like moving up on a ladder where we take a step and we pull ourselves up, but then there's another step to take. And we got to keep moving because we have a goal. We have a goal of aligning with ourselves. We have a goal of doing what is in the best interest of our soul. And we know what that feels like because it's peaceful and relaxed. It's not anxious and stressful. It's just one thing at a time, one thing at a time. And then hooray, we triumph. Eventually that new behavior is part of who we are. And the old behavior is gone, and we look back at it and we go, I can't believe that was so hard for a while. You know, that was nothing. And now look at all those people. They're working on it, and they think it's so hard. It's really not so hard. But it's easy for us to say, right, on this stuff, you know. And then as we take our step, and as we align ourselves with the new behavior, and the old behavior is gone, we are now open to new insights, intuition, energy, vision, to be able to see what else is in the best interest of our soul. Oh, here's how I can make this new behavior really work for me. Now I get to sleep, and I can wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and do my meditation time and not fall asleep at my 5th client during the day. Well, that's really awesome. Everybody appreciates that. So so look at all this, and now what I can do is I can get up, and I got my meditation time, I've got my exercise time, I can make myself something to eat, I've got all this time. Yeah, and maybe I am just spent by 10 o'clock at night, but that's okay, because that's good modeling for my 17-year-old son who wants to get to bed early also, and on time, maybe not early, but on time, and because that helps him during his day. And so everybody's winning when I take my little step. Everybody's winning. And I can see how to do it better and how I need to expand. Maybe I started with a definition of my change that was about this big, but the more I work with it, the more it's like, oh my gosh, this is helping me more than I had any idea it was going to help me out. This is awesome. And then that becomes a rhythm, and then the process starts all over again, because we're always finding new things we want to do. And it's not that FOMO like we talked about a few weeks ago, the fear of missing out. It's not that. That's not what we're talking about. We don't want to feed the fear of missing out. We want to feed the joy of missing out, if anything. But because we are, at our essence, the universe. We are, at our essence, the universe. Then that essence within us will not stop knocking on the door trying to wake us up until it has blended back into that oneness. And we'll still have our individualized vibration expression, but we will not stop. We will not be satisfied until that spiritual expansion, until we have become the spiritual being that we are and left the human nature far behind. Because human nature is limited, and we'll still have our humanness to work with, but our mindset won't be coming from that. It will be coming from that spiritual perspective that is fully connected to divine wisdom and divine love all the time. And that's our goal way down the road, but what is our first step? Our first step is whatever your heart is telling you is your first step right now, today. So think about that. And any step you take ever will follow this pattern. It will follow this rhythm. And the more you know it and can see it, then you can see all those things coming. It's like, okay, if I just keep regrouping myself and staying on track, this pull will eventually go away. It's just a connection. It's going to be starved out. It'll eventually fade away. I don't have to worry about it. Maybe it feels hard by now, but I know that it will be nothing in a short time. So take this with you, refer to it, put it on your refrigerator, and it will just be a great reminder throughout the year as you're taking all of your steps that you're going to be taking. There's not just one step in 2019. There's many, many, many steps that we can take to align ourselves with our higher self, with that Christ mind, with that Christ within, with that observer self, that part that is one with all of the universe. So I invite you to think about again, if you haven't been, to think about again that spiritual step that is in front of you today, and that is a divine idea, or it would not be so strong in your heart. So know that that is truly your spiritual step. That strong desire. And feel that desire in the center of your heart, flooded with that light that we started with in our meditation time. And we're doing that for ourselves. We're doing that for each other just by being here together today. And we say thank you, God. Thank you for all the support, all the little awarenesses that help us take our step. Help us to see what we need to see. Help us to not hide from ourselves or forget. To make that observer self in charge, not the old pattern. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you for the tools that we have to back us up when that resistance comes up, our journaling, our 7 steps, our meditation, our tapping, our all of the different things that are out there that can help us take our step. Those tools aren't the path. Those tools help us on the path. The path is right here in the center of our hearts. That is the path. And only that inner self knows what that step is. Making us aware of it. Making us aware of the resistance so that we can let it go, redirect, move forward. Thank you, thank you, thank you, God. And so it is. Amen. And that light that we are led to is right in the center of us, right in the center of our hearts, and we are more. We are more than we are right now. Connected to infinite possibility, connected to infinite growth, to that infinite love and wisdom of the universe. Right now we touch in with that God presence within us. Just feel that light in the center of your heart right now. And let it expand to your entire body, head to toe, arm to arm. Stretching all around you, encompassing the people around you. Joining with one another, filling this room, filling this building. Feel yourself expanding, expanding, expanding. We are one with infinite possibility. We are one with infinite truth, light. And feel that awareness continue to move out as far as you can. How far can you go with it? To the city, state, to the region, to the country, continent, hemisphere, planet. Everything that we can see, near or far, is a simple manifestation of that divine presence. And we are not just the manifestation that we can see, we are the creation. We are the creator. We are one with that consciousness. That presence in the center of your heart, that individualized expression of God, of the divine. We are here to wake up more and more. So that expansion is not just a momentary experience, visualization, meditation, but it's who we are. Wake up, and then we wake up more, and then we wake up more, and then we wake up more. bit by bit, step by step. But guaranteed, we are more than who we are right now. And we embrace that more. Once again, touch back in with that center within you, that heart of yours, that heart of hearts is the center of all the universe. Since that presence is everywhere, there is no ending, there is no boundary. And our own center belongs to us, always. It is ours to grow. And we say, thank you, God. Thank you, beloved, loving, giving, wise energy of the universe. Thank you for helping us wake up. Thank you for helping us know more of who we are. We do our part, and the universe is backing us up 1,000-fold. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. And so it is.